Hey, what's up, North County? I'm your host, Randy Doty, and today we are talking real estate with Ron Mullins from Remax Parkside. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for finally coming in.
I know, it's
right?
been a minute, yeah.
It's been a little bit, but I mean, everybody gets busy. Everybody
Yeah.
gets busy, which everybody knows. So, but now we're gonna dig down and we're gonna learn about Ron Mullins and hear about the journey from how'd you get into real estate and all that stuff. So
Sounds
now,
good.
did you grow up here, Ron, or what?
I grew up in Seal Beach, California, which is northern Orange County. Did most of all my schooling there. Moved there when I was about 7 years old. Parents have a strong real estate background, owned multiple real estate offices, an escrow company and a mortgage company. And as a youth, I was in the surf culture. I surfed competitively, and then ultimately got
Like on big waves, or
No, when you're little, everything seems big.
right?
But I was fairly decent and surfed competitively till I was 16. And then I transitioned into surfboard manufacturing. And then at 17 and 18, a gentleman named Rich Harbor Surfboards in Seal Beach, had me run the sales counter on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday. So I'd go to school 5 days a week, and then Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 5, I ran the sales counter in the surf shop.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What kind of cool experience is that?
Yeah, it was, gave me the opportunity to interact with people at a very young age, and, I did a good job, being able to assist people picking out and choosing the right equipment. And so it kept me busy, kept me out of trouble.
Was that the era of, like, say, the Fast Times, and then, like, did you guys do skateboards too? Did you guys sell skateboards
Harbor
in there as well?
Surfboards actually manufactured skateboards for a period of time. About the time I started working the sales counter, they were transitioning out of the skateboard world, but early on they did manufacture skateboard decks and stuff, and actually built them on site. So the Harbor Surfboards is the longest running shop where they actually still manufacture the surfboards at that site.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Rich was known predominantly, because of coming out of 1959 for the longboards, classic longboards. And then as boards got shorter, obviously he followed the trend. But if you were to look out there today, many of his older longboards are very desirable keepsakes, classic stuff.
Do you still keep in contact?
Yeah, with the shop I do. Rich passed a few years ago.
Okay.
But I'll have a lot of friends that are still in that industry and still at that shop.
What was it like growing up in the mecca of Southern California surf? I mean, that was everything, right? And
As a kid,
beaches.
I lived a block or less, about a half a block from the beach. So
Wow.
I would wake up in the morning, throw my wetsuit on, surf, get out, rinse off, go to school, come home. The wetsuit would be dry, put it back on, and surf. I mean,
That was the life.
That was what we did. Yeah, we were in the water virtually every day. It was rideable.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Are you still surfing now?
Yeah, not as much as I used to. I go on an annual surf trip to Mexico. It's a little bit different surfing on the Central Coast than it is down there. Everybody references the water temperature, which with today's wetsuits isn't really the issue. It's at my age, I don't get a lot of enjoyment out of surfing waves that aren't of decent quality.
Right.
And with our conditions up here, it gets a little bit challenging, especially living in Paso Robles and
Right.
not being just on the coast. So it's limited, but I still enjoy it.
Did you experience any of the turf wars that you would hear in the surf? Like, hey, get off my wave, get off my beach, that kind of stuff.
That's a very real thing.
Really?
We were very protective of our surf spots in Seal Beach, and there was definitely a pecking order. So as a kid, they called us groms, and you'd get the leftovers, and then you'd kind of move up to the middle pack, and then as you
So there was a no kid.
Oh, 100%.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
And then if somebody took your wave that wasn't in that era or list of pecking?
If I would have taken away from an elder, there would have been consequences.
Wow.
Yeah. And then being a local, if somebody would have taken away from any of our local guys, then there would have been some consequences. So that's definitely a real thing.
You think that still exists?
To some form, yes. There were some areas down in Southern California where it got really out of hand, where, there was violence and stuff involved. And so that's been cracked down on a little bit. But we had a lot of respect for each other back then, and you kind of knew where you were in the order. So today there's less respect in the water, I would say. Back then you take off on a wave and no one would take off in front of you, and now certain spots, especially the crowded ones, it's just a free-for-all, which is unfortunate, can be dangerous, and so that culture has changed.
That's interesting.
It still exists in certain spots, but it's a little bit more of a free-for-all this day and age.
Well, before we get into the real estate stuff, I just want to touch on, what is the most insane surf spot that you've ever been to?
Actually, it's up on the Big Sur area. The closest I've ever came to drowning, probably shouldn't mention the name, but it's up in the Gorda area.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And
Off the cliffs.
yeah, and it was, we pulled up to the spot. There was nobody out. We knew the waves were big. I had a board equipped for it back then. I was in my mid-20s. And me and my buddy paddled out. And we didn't really realize how big it was until we paddled out, because there's nothing to scale it off of.
And you're looking from the top down, huh?
Yeah, we're just kind of on the beach looking at it. And you can kind of tell on the timing of when the wave starts to break. The larger it gets, it almost looks like it's in slow motion. And it looked big, but we didn't realize how big. So we paddled out first and got some waves. And some other guys came out behind us. And I was on a board that was 7'6", and it was like 2.5 times the length of my board paddling up the waves. It was pretty big.
Wow.
And I was in much better shape back then. I'd be afraid to be on the beach at my age right now. And I turned for a wave, didn't catch it, and there was a big set behind me, and I took it on the head and got pushed down really far. But the worst part was it unzipped my wetsuit, and I filled up full of water. And I'm in kelp, and it's dark, and it was frightening. I ended up grabbing my leash, my leg rope that's hooked to the board, and crawled up it to get to the surface so I could get some air. And about the time I got to the surface, I did get a breath, and then the next wave just landed on my head. And that's the scariest I've ever been in the water, for sure.
Wow.
And I don't do that stuff anymore.
Leave that for the young kids.
Absolutely. Yeah, in much better shape.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. Well, Ron, so how did you get from down south up here? What propelled your real estate career?
Well, I started my career in the North Long Beach area, and right out of high school. I was 18 years old, and started in 1984, and did fairly well. Got married. My wife got pregnant, and in the late 80s, not necessarily where I lived, but the area I was selling real estate was getting unsafe as far as the outside, the influences. And I made the decision that I didn't want to work in that type of environment, and didn't want to raise a family anywhere near that type of environment. So in probably it was like about 1989, dropped on my parents that, I was no longer going to want to continue my career in that area, and that I was going to be looking for a change. And my parents had some familiarity with Paso Robles, and we made, like many others do, several trips up here and just kind of started scouting it out. And it seemed like a wonderful place to live, and that there was some opportunity to make a living, which was challenging back then. On everybody wanted to live in the North County, but how do you make a living? And it seemed like there was some opportunity, and ultimately decided that we really liked this area, and we pulled the trigger and
What year was
and
that?
jumped in. Moved here in June of 1990. My son was born May 3rd of 1990, and moved here right around the 1st of June, about a month later.
Wow. And then obviously your mom, your dad, everybody followed up here as well?
Yeah, my parents ended up selling their real estate office, mortgage company, and escrow company in Long Beach. They followed me up. My mom's sister and her husband, my aunt and uncle, their kids followed me up, and ultimately my sister followed me up.
Wow. And so that's kind of what started your real estate career when you moved up to here?
Yeah, I had 6 years selling real estate in Long Beach, 84 through 90, and then I've been here for 34 years.
So when you say that you have a history in the real estate market, I mean, you're collectively between your parents, was their parents kind of in that field as well?
No, not at all. Neither of them had any interest or experience in real estate. What the catalyst of my mother got into real estate first, and the catalyst for that was her sister was out looking for a house, and they went to an open house, and the experience with the agent was not very good, which irritated my mother. And her mindset was I could do a better job. At the time, me and my sister were little kids. My dad was the business agent for Plumber and Steam Fitters Union.
Okay.
So she told my father that she wanted to get into real estate. And he said, well, it better not affect my job, dinner needs to be on the table, and basically you can go play real estate while the kids are in school, but life's going to stay as it's been. She got into real estate, I think her second year in the business. She was the #1 agent in the Western United States for the Century 21 system, which was the largest franchise back in that day. And then like 2 years later, my dad went to work for my mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he left.
It's like, all right, that play thing, let's turn this into a real thing.
Yeah, and
Wow.
it really changed our lives, because it opened the door, for us to move at that time out of Long Beach into Seal Beach, and got me into surfing, which I would have never done had we stayed. So it was pretty interesting. My dad ended up running the mortgage company, helped managing the office, and ultimately started running the mortgage company back in the day.
What? So when you moved up in here, kind of in the '90s, so that's 50. What is that? We're like almost 50 years ago. So it was 45 years ago.
It was.
So the market now I always feel like there's a ton of real estate. Everybody's a real estate agent. It seems like, and it's always like, what's the difference? What's the difference between you, them, and all that stuff? It's like, oh, I'm getting my real estate license. But the market back then, was there a lot of agents back then, or was this still a kind of an uncapped market for selling and buying?
So that's an interesting question. I came out of a very competitive market in the Long Beach area. Little dog eat dog. So, you were fighting and scrapping for your business that you got. And then when I moved to Paso Robles in '90, it was really different. It was really low key. And so a lot of the skill set I had learned down there in a very highly competitive market, I was able to bring up here and be successful. I would say our market, the real estate world here now is a lot closer to what it was down there in 1990, a little more competitive. And
So you're like a professional fighter coming up into an amateur fight up here, so to speak, years ago.
yeah, I don't want to call it. There were a lot of good people in the business, but just the way.
I just meant experience. Sales
experience,
techniques. The kind of the way that you gathered.
Yeah, the way the way we worked, the way we earned our business. It's I don't want to disrespect. I still work with people that I originally started working with. It was just a different mentality. I think it was.
The slow life.
Agents were, it was, instead of sitting around waiting for the phone to ring, you'd go out and make the phone ring type of thing.
Right.
Is probably the best way I could state it. And so it was a little bit of a transition. I had to learn all the streets and neighborhoods, and I didn't know where Creston Road was, which sounds really, really funny.
Right.
But
back then, it was a little different way to get there. It wasn't, right across Niblick Bridge. It was a little bit more of a, it wasn't built out. It wasn't. I mean, it was built out, but it was. You had to up 13th Street, and to get out that way versus coming in these different ways onto Creston Road.
Yeah, it's one of the things that sticks in my head from back then is we have a neighborhood called Spanish Camp, kind of off of South River Road. And when I heard Spanish, like I'm coming from the city, and like I hear Spanish, I'm like a bunch of people, Spanish people are camping. I was like in another world, like being on Mars,
right?
Having to learn the areas in Long Beach. We mostly sold old Navy housing, and it was just like gridded streets that run north, south, east, west, in blocks, and we didn't have neighborhoods really that we called by a name. And so that was a transition and a learning experience. But I was really fortunate to work with really good people. I joined the local Century 21 office that was up here at the time, and very seasoned veterans. And I have to give them a lot of credit for taking me under their wing and showing me the ropes and allowing me to, grow my career in Paso Robles, North County.
Was it hard getting into the real estate market with, just kind of all the laws and all the legalities and stuff like that probably come with it? You're essentially responsible for, well, I guess maybe not responsible, but maybe looked at responsible for, mold, housing, foundations and stuff like that. You're kind of the person that has to kind of really inspect or be the person that knows about the houses. Was that hard to kind of navigate and
I
be
think
that
one of the challenges, again, coming out of an area where everything was built out, easements weren't really a thing in Southern California. Wells were obviously not a thing in Southern California, and septic and things like that. So it was really interesting for me to learn and kind of, have to understand how other properties are sold and what's involved after coming out of kind of doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Like a cookie cutter thing.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. In the North County, you could be showing a fairly simple entry-level type of home in the morning, and showing a $3 or $4 million estate in the afternoon, and that didn't happen out of what I came out of. So it was challenging and exciting for me because it just expanded, what you needed to know and the challenge to be good at that. As far as back into inspections, I have a pretty strong knowledge base, but I'm also aware that I don't know everything. So I associate myself with quality people when it comes to home inspections and termite and easements and well and septic. So most real estate professionals, have or should have a quality group of people that support them, because we can't know everything. It's our job to be able to direct our clients to get the assistance from the people that are professional in that aspect of the real estate world.
So Ron, how do you stay over the years? I mean, obviously the North County is growing, and we're still growing. It's going out different ways and stuff like that. More agents are coming in. People are getting their license. Did you ever have your aspirations to be a broker, to actually have your own place?
At one time in my career, I did. My mother owned the Prudential franchise that was here in Paso Robles that transitioned to the Berkshire Hathaway franchise.
Okay, over there by the movie theater?
Yeah, I think she's 47 years as a broker owner of an office. And the model of a broker owner has really changed throughout my career. When I started, the broker owner, that was their job, and their income was driven off of what their agents produced. And in this day and age, it's very difficult for a broker owner to solely derive their income off of the business that the agents produce. The way that commission is divided between the office and the agent has changed dramatically. From when I started to where we are today. When I started, a commission check would come in and the broker may keep half and the agent would get half. And that scale has shifted quite a bit
Right.
to where the agent's getting the large majority of that commission that comes in, and the broker's getting a little bit. So the only way a broker can really survive in this day and age is by having 50 to 100 agents in an office, where you're getting a little bit of a lot, instead of having a crew of maybe 20 quality agents that you could make a living off of,
And probably less headaches.
And you can't, because with 50 to 100 agents comes a lot more liability and headaches, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I realized I had made a decision that I would never consider being a broker owner until my kids were adults, which they are now. And I figured out myself it'd be better just to stay in my lane and be responsible for myself, be able to take care of my clients, and not have to worry about what anybody else is doing. So.
Gotcha. So we fast forward to now. How do you stay relevant amongst the agent portal for being above and beyond somebody else, or not to take away from their knowledge or their disrespect, but I mean, how do you stay relevant within such a big pool of agents?
The large majority of my business comes from repeat referral business.
Okay.
The clients that I've dealt with that come back and use me again or refer me to their family and friends, which has always been my goal in the business. And it's the best way to survive is by repeat referral business. So.
Do you have any programs, or how do you reach back out there, stay in contact with the people that you?
We reach out. There's client follow-up programs, and I still do prospecting for new business, of course. But technology changed our business. I don't think always for the better. I think a lot of agents this day and age rely on the technology, and there's more electronic and communication. Our information is all out there. Basically, our MLS is online, where before, if you wanted to know what was for sale back in the 90s, you would have to go to a real estate agent to find that out. And now you just hit some keys on your keyboard and everything is out there. So we've had to transition on providing service and having the knowledge and background of the area to separate yourself from just Randy, this is what's for sale, which you already could find. So
Interesting.
it's changed. I don't think necessarily for the better in some ways. I think that one-on-one contact with the client and navigating them through the process is the same. And I think the more that is done on a one-on-one personal type of basis is better, as opposed to just relying on a computer to do it for you.
Interesting. Is days of meeting your client and getting them in the back of the car and going out to properties, is that still
Yeah.
a thing? It is.
Yeah, I think more. We used to put them in our own car before, and now it seems like they meet us or follow us a little bit more this day and age. I mean, we still get people in our cars, but COVID kind of changed that a little bit, where we weren't in the same car, and it seems like that's trends kind of continued. We're out showing property in 2 cars instead of being in 1. I prefer when we're in 1 car, because there's a lot of knowledge I can share with my clients as we're navigating through different
Right.
neighborhoods, even if we're going through areas that aren't relevant for that client. I can tell them a little bit about a knowledge of the area, and I miss that a little bit, the way we're doing business. But
Wouldn't it be cool to have some sort of speaker system that you could, kind of like on a tram?
yeah,
You put it in their
I
car.
guess we could FaceTime while they're in the car behind me, but I'd just prefer them to be in
Right.
my car. Yeah.
Because like I said, my dad was in real estate, and that seemed to be, he had the Wagoneers and stuff,
Yeah.
the 4-wheel drives, because we're still rural, country,
Yep.
and so it was always, the clients would get in the vehicle and they'd go and off to properties and kind of have that. And I think the experience probably is a lot different back in those days than it is now, but but still the same, like you said, with that customer interaction of being able to talk while you're driving around, explaining, oh, this is where the drive-in used to be,
Yeah.
type stuff, and just kind of giving a layout of the land of somebody that's not familiar with it.
Yeah, I prefer it that way because it gives me the opportunity to have more detailed conversations with my clients, so I can find out what their specific needs are and help us get to that point. I don't sell a property. I'm not like a car salesman. What's going to take for you to buy this house today, type of thing.
Right.
When I do my job, the selling part takes care of itself. And that's by me listening to what my clients' needs are and identifying the best properties that are going to fit those needs. And then the selling part takes care of itself when I do my job by presenting them with the properties that are going to meet their needs. So the more interaction and conversations I can have with my clients along that way helps that process, where I'm not dragging people around showing properties that aren't going to meet their needs, where you pull up in front of the house and they say, we don't even want to go in. I mean,
Has that happened?
I have failed. Not with me recently. I'm kind of past that because I do have extensive conversations with my clients on what their specific property needs are and do my best to show them what properties are available. Now, sometimes the client's expectations might be here and kind of
Right.
what their budget it is here, so I have to educate them on what their affordability is and what they're going to be able to get in that range, and then find them the best properties that are going to work for them.
Do you still get like cold calls into you or into the office? Because you're Remax Parkside, which is several agents, right?
Yeah.
And is there an up system? Or the new agent gets the call in. How does that work with such a?
Yeah, it's we call it floor time in our world. So if somebody calls in on a sign or a property or an ad or offline or a property that's online, then that call is directed to that agent, for that half day or however many hours they're on.
Gotcha.
It's not something that I have done in a while, but that's still, in 1984 when I started, it was the same as it is today. We call it floor time.
I'm just curious of a cold call in to real estate. especially in our area, because I think right now we have an influx of people coming into this market, the Central Coast, wanting a piece of, paradise. And, just, hey, I just saw a sign and I wanted to talk to an agent, obviously. And so somebody that has the floor time, they get that call for the day or half a day or whatever it is.
Yeah. Biggest thing that's changed in my career, I would say, is pre-internet, pre-computers, pre-cell phones, I was in the business. I mean, I remember when I got my first pager, I thought it was pretty cool way back in the day. But we used to, kind of control the information. So in 1985, if you wanted to know what the asking price on a house was, you were going to have to call an agent to find out. Well, now people can pull up and type it into their phone, and they have basically the MLS, everything they need to know in front of it. So agents have had to pivot on relying on a potential buyer for calling you to find out what a property's asking price is and how big it is, bedroom, baths, everything about it, to providing services on how they're going to help them navigate a potential purchase, or more detailed information about the general area. So the technology definitely changed our business. I think some for the better and maybe some for the worse.
How has Zillow changed? Because Zillow, you can get a whole history of the house and property, what it was sold for, over the years. Has that changed for the better or worse for you when Zillow come on?
Zillow, Realtor.com, and all of those are basically like an online MLS.
Right.
So when any agent, myself or anybody else.
Does MLS do the same thing?
Well, what happens is the old MLS, again, pre-computers, we used to carry around books.
Right.
We'd have to flip pages through books to see what was available, and that was our information. When we went digital, it was decided not at any form of a local or state level, more probably national level, that I'm assuming our information is sold to the Zillows and Realtor.coms of the world, and it's more or less an online multiple listing service that's accessible to the public. The prior sale history and stuff is all public record through the counties, and so they've just added that on, which I think is very valuable for the public to have. But it also eliminated a little bit of the value of an agent, so you no longer have to call a realtor to find out the asking price or size of a home or how many bedrooms and baths it has, because you have that on your own. So
Right.
the question is how does an agent provide you value in going through there? Now you know everything that's for sale and what they're asking, so what's the job of an agent? And that's where agents have had to pivot to stay relevant. Back in the day, a lot of them did business just by merely having control of the information, and those days have changed a lot. So providing the services of general information about the neighborhoods, maybe a little bit more historical data about what other properties in the area are selling for, and guiding a client on value, inspections, lending, septic, well, the things we talked about, termite, all of those things is where we've kind of had to pivot, which was always kind of a service we provided before, but I think it's a little bit more relevant now. And then also a lot of, buyers and sellers focus on kind of the eye candy of the business, the advertising, the online presence, and things like that. And I think, especially in the state of California, litigation is a big issue. So I think the highest value I provide to my client would be making sure the job is done right. So when the escrow closes, we've dotted the I's and we've crossed the T's, and disclosures have been done properly, and all of that. So when the transaction closes and the buyer gets the keys or the seller gets their check, that they can right away or move into their home knowing that the transaction was handled properly and professionally. Because that's where the slippery slope is in this day and age.
Right.
We experienced that through the the crash in what 07, 08ish, where when property values are going up, everybody's happy, but when that market starts sliding down and there's a correction, then sometimes people are looking for their pound of flesh, and that happened quite a bit back then. And
But I think also too, your relevance in the market is also your history, you know, your longevity,
knowledge,
and knowledge. Exactly. I mean, you've got a ton of that in your tool belt, from the years. It's not just you just got your real estate license last year or the year before. You've been in the business. Your family's been in the business, so your relevance is you've got foundation, and so when somebody comes into this market and they're looking for somebody knowledgeable and somebody that can guide them, somebody that's just not there, for their, for that commission check, somebody that can guide that buyer into the correct home, you have that on your side.
Yeah, and I'm definitely, and I'm looking to, build long-term relationships where I sell somebody a house and 5 or 6 years down the road, they want to sell it and I made a good impression on them, and then they come back to me, or they have family and friends that are looking to do something and it's, hey, give Ron a call. He did a great job for us. That's what brings me the greatest satisfaction is when somebody is willing to give my name out to a family or friend, and makes me feel good that I did a good job for them.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the local? Do you like you said, we're talking about inspections. You mentioned termite and all these other things. I mean, I'm sure there's a host of people that you have to be constantly in contact with when you need to get a house inspected or go through all these different steps in order for this purchase to happen, right? Who are some of the people that you work with?
Company names?
Well, I mean, just like, do you have to go out there and get the termite inspections, or is that on the buyer or the seller? Or
I think the best way to explain it is if you looked at a bicycle wheel. It has a hub and spokes, and the realtor's the hub, and the spokes are all those affiliates that help that transaction be successful. So the realtor's basically, I'm not responsible for the inspection. I don't do the inspections, but I'm responsible for coordinating it. And I have the responsibility to make sure that if I'm giving out somebody's name to use, that it's a quality person. Because like any industry, real estate, cars, attorneys, there's people that are quality and people that you might not want to use. So I've surrounded myself with the people that I would personally use if I was going to buy or sell a home. And those are the people that I refer to my clients, people that I absolutely trust, and only people that I would use myself or refer to one of my family members.
And so really, that's really another aspect of the real estate agent is to, because the buyer or the seller comes to you, Ron, I want to sell my home, this and that. What do we got to do? And first you got to do this. I'm sure there's a checklist. You got to do this. You got to do that. Whatever. And then your referral process starts, right? To where these guys have to go out and get their, roof and termites and probably some other host of other stuff.
Yeah, I'll meet with a client and first and foremost assess what their needs are, what their time frame is. Whether they want to sell the property more as is, or whether they want to do any type of improvements, guide them as to what improvements I think are going to give them the best return for their dollar, and then bring in the appropriate people to guide them, or do the repairs or do the inspections as needed.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm always curious on the real estate market because it's it's such a changing, a revolving door. It seems like, and with the property that, it's like you said, you go through a phase, it's everything's selling. It's a buyer's market now. It becomes a seller's market, and it keeps going in that space. And then, like, of course, elections always, seems to change things.
Yep.
There's just it seems like you're like this. You're just kind of dodging and just rolling with the punches the whole time.
Yeah, we're always looking at the data and trying to analyze where it might be going. I don't think anybody knows with any certainty. I would say surprising to me, and I think surprising to most, what our market did during COVID, when people couldn't go to work, we were pretty much shut down. Our local market, and not just Paso Robles or the North County, exploded. And as did the markets in the Bay Area and Southern California. To think that the real estate market would have appreciated as much as it did when people weren't even being able to go to work was shocking and surprising to me. It's nothing I would have ever anticipated.
So you're saying the Northern and Southern California also exploded?
Oh, they just went crazy, yeah.
Really?
It's nuts. Paso Robles or the North County market isn't really unlike those.
Right.
Especially with the influx of people we have coming in, relocating. I moved here in 1990, so to COVID, so plus or minus 20 years. I guess it was longer than that. It was 2020, so 30 years. Everybody wants to live here. It was, how do you make a living and live here? And I think one of the changes of COVID, which enabled things to fuel for people to come here, and the growth that we've seen, was the working remotely. Where before, if somebody was stuck in Silicon Valley, you're not going to drive from Paso up there and back and forth every day. And now, working remotely during the COVID era kind of opened that door where, hey, I can work from home, still get a check, but I don't have to live here anymore. And that really opened the door for people coming in. The number of cash transactions that have gone on in the North County post-COVID, I don't have a specific statistic, but it might be in the 50% or higher range, which is shocking for me. I would have never anticipated that. It's great for the people moving in. It's tough for my children and my grandchildren because it's really kept the prices up, and it's tough to compete with cash offers if you're doing financing. So,
wow,
it's shocking that the appreciation that we've seen during a period of time when people couldn't go to work, I would have anticipated would have the negative effect. We would have depreciation, and we've had extreme appreciation since 2020 when the pandemic hit. So it's probably one of the more surprising things I've seen in my career in the 34 years is what the market did during the pandemic, which was counter to what I would have thought it would have done. And it's not just here.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
That's interesting.
Our market typically runs about 4 to 6 months behind what the larger metropolitan areas do in the state of California. So Southern California, the Bay Area, when they start slowing down a little bit, we're usually on about a 4 to 6 month lag. And we are seeing days on market in those areas start to tick up a little bit. And we're seeing our days on the market tick up a little bit on specific properties. And then other properties are selling within a matter of hours or a day or two with multiple offers over ask. So,
yeah, I mean, you look at that kind of stuff, and you look at the houses and the availability and stuff, and the people that are coming in, they're buying these properties, like you say, cash, or 50% of them, but they're also I know during the time, like you said, during the COVID era, that it was over. Like if they put their house on the market for, $1 million, they're selling it for, a million, 1,000, 100,000 over, 200,000 over, just to basically lock in that.
We're still
house.
seeing that a little bit. We're still seeing over ask offers come in. Multiple offers are still a thing. Not quite as prevalent as it was, but it's still happening. We've been starved for inventory, and we haven't had enough inventory to really put a lot of downward pressure on our pricing. The real estate market's always fluctuated, but it's typically been fairly gradual. You have growth, and then it goes, slides a little bit, and then it grows, and it slides, and then back in 05, 06, it went on a vertical trajectory up, and it went on a vertical trajectory down. And the major cause of that was just illegitimate lending. The guidelines for the lending, they lost any form of common sense and went more driven off of FICO or credit score, and we had stated income loans, and if you had 660 credit score and could fog a mirror and state your income, they'd give you a loan, and we paid the price. And for the first time in history, the pride of home ownership went out the door because people were really quick to mail their keys in. There were a lot of foreclosures, as everybody knows.
Right.
But people used to fight, scrap, beg, and borrow to keep their houses. And that was the first time that people were pretty quick to give them up. And then the market slid down, and then they waited 2 years, and they went back and bought a similar home for several $100,000 less than they had paid for the previous one. So it was strange times. I think our industry, particularly on the lending side, learned quite a bit from that, and we're back to more of a common sense in lending. My dad owned a mortgage company. He retired when things went wacko because it just made no sense. Back in the day, if you were on your job for 20 years and had really good credit, and maybe your debt to income ratio was a little bit high, it made sense because you could prove the history, your job history, your credit history, and they would look at the whole package in its entirety instead of just a little snapshot of one thing. And our industry did it to itself, particularly on the lending side. The realtors were along for the ride, but it could have been prevented had we kept with some common sense in the lending world. People were getting loans that really they shouldn't have gotten, weren't qualified to get.
Gotcha. What are some of the questions nowadays when a new contact comes to you? What are some of the questions that are being asked of you, or the process nowadays versus what it was, years ago?
I don't think a lot of that has changed. I think they want an agent that has a strong background and familiarity with the different neighborhoods or areas, depending on the property. Again, we have a wide range, from like a single wide mobile home to very exclusive estate type properties. So I think just having a good, strong knowledge of the inventory, what's available, and the general areas and locations of the properties that are going to meet that client's specific needs. That hasn't changed a whole lot. Back when I started, we didn't have home inspections. We had termite reports. Southern California has a lot of termites. We don't really up here. So, but I think meeting the goals of the client hasn't changed a whole lot with the internet and email and text messages and all that. It's kind of changed how we do it. But I think the idea of meeting the goals of the clients hasn't changed a whole lot. It's just maybe we use different tools to get there today. I prefer a little bit more interaction, either one-on-one like we're doing, or a phone call, as opposed to just relying on electronics, emails, and text.
Sometimes those get lost.
Yeah, and
know?
you just, it gets lost in translation, and I answer a question that leads to another question. So it's just, I think having conversations with people is a lot better way to effectively communicate with them. If you can't be face to face, at least have a phone call.
Awesome.
Text messages and emails are pretty impersonal. So.
Well, Ron, I'd like to dig more into real estate in our market, but like I said, I don't want to go make this really super long.
Okay.
I mean, we're already an hour, and so I think I want to save some of the other questions that I had for another segment.
Perfect.
I would almost like to do let's get to know the realtor, let's get to know your local market, because I mean, really, learning the market is through your eyes. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? For somebody, like you said, when you came up here in the 90s, you didn't know where Creston Road was.
Fish out of water.
And I always say, of how many people that move here, do they really know our area? Does the people that move into Paso Robles from Silicon Valley or, wherever, do they really know that Tascadero has a zoo? Mm-hmm. You probably would like to say probably not. Do they know where
probably not.
The Long Branch is out in Creston? Have they ever been to Parkfield Cafe? It's like, where's it? It's like these people, and really that's your expertise is when people come and they reach out for you and your services, you're really the eyes and the brains of our market. Would you say that's pretty close to the way it is?
100% fair. I mean, we have lots of stuff. Wine Fest, the concerts in the park and throughout all the North County. I mean, there's lots of wonderful things. We live in a beautiful part of the state, and there's a lot that goes on here that our clients have no idea about. They've heard of Paso Robles, predominantly probably because of the wine, and typically they've spent a couple weekends here and they liked it and they want to explore the real estate opportunity, but there's a lot that they don't know, and that's where a realtor can help them share with them outside of the wine, and it's a great place to live. There's a lot of stuff to do here that's really fun.
And you're essentially the tour guide.
Mm-hmm.
You're the
Yeah.
tour guide for homes, for making the Central Coast, the North County your home, and you're also the knowledge base of where's the places that these people should focus and look at for entertainment, for activities, for kids, schools. I'm sure
Definitely.
Schools is a big
always been It's
knowledge
always
for
been.
you too.
Yeah, and I think again is by having that conversation with the client and finding out what their interests are, and then guiding them to what we offer that's gonna complement or meet their needs when it comes to what they want to do. Everybody's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are horses, some people are wine. So, we've got some of the most beautiful coastline in the world 30 minutes away. So there's a lot to offer in the North County that we have.
And do you primarily sell into one pond, fish in one pond as far as like clients what they're looking for, or is it you go from ranches to beaches to mobile homes to lots?
I've done it all.
Yeah.
$5,000 lot out in Shandon to $7.2 million piece of property and everything in between.
They don't still have $5,000 lots out in Shandon, do they?
It was a long time ago.
Can you imagine that?
I wish.
Right?
I always look back. I should have bought that. I should have bought that. I should have bought that. But it is what it
I
is.
was over in Cambria. This was a few months back, but we were at the West End and having a cocktail, and there was lady and gentleman was sitting next to us, older couple, and they had a home there in Cambria, and they had their home in Fresno. Well, the only reason they have their home in Fresno is because their doctor's there, and so they like their doctor, and so they have this. But he came over back in the I want to say 40s or 50s and bought 10 lots right there on the bluff of Cambria. And they were like, I think he said they were 100,000, or no, I'm sorry, 10,000 a piece. They're 1 acre parcels, or maybe a little less. But he bought those, bought 10 of them back in the day, back when nobody was anything. And so it was just, those days of money and those days of lots of pricing to buy land here was like, you can't even
No.
realize.
But it's in a sense kind of relative, because back then $10,000 was a lot of money,
Right.
So it is, yeah. you always look back and shoulda, coulda, woulda kind of thing. But
Go back in time and buy
nobody
buy those
really
lots.
has a crystal ball. It's just hard to project that far out into the future what it would be. The best way to make wealth in real estate is by owning it.
Right.
That's
Awesome.
that's undeniable.
Well, Ron, how does somebody get in touch with you? Do they go to your website, your phone number? What is the best method to reach you?
Best way is give me a call, 805-235-2308, and my email is sold, S-O-L-D, at ronmullins.com.
And you still prefer the old school method? Give me a call. Don't.
I'd way rather talk to you than text with you.
Right.
Absolutely. And I'm at the Remax Parkside office, downtown Paso Robles, 711 12th Street.
Well, I just want to say we appreciate you being a sponsor, and What's Up North County. I really look forward to kind of digging into the real, because we live, like you said, we live in paradise. We live in a really unique market. And there's so many different geographical areas that are so cool that like people don't know, and they almost need they need the guide, the real estate. They don't need just somebody that sells real estate.
Right.
I mean, really, you bring a lot more to the table. When I asked that question earlier, what makes you relevant? Well, there's a lot of things that make you relevant, but mostly, like you said, that personal connection, that customer service, which you have the base, you have the foundation, you have the experience, and then you also have the knowledge of what these clients, when they reach out and they come into our, like you said, 40 years ago, that you didn't know where Creston was, Creston Road was, and these guys have, the best school district for their kids. I'm sure that's a focus point for the young parents. Like I said, Wine Fest, some of the restaurants, some of the places of the tour, the areas that you want to go to and know, like the zoo, think, so that's what I think that makes you a lot different than, a lot of different people on the Central Coast.
Yep. Every client's a little bit different, and just talking with them, having conversations, finding out what their needs are, what their interests are, and then having the experience that I have here positions me to be able to help them out to the best of my ability.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to learning more through your eyes.
All right.
In the real estate market,
and
checking. I'd like to even check out some houses too.
We'll do it.
Do like I'm the buyer. Take me on. I've never been on one. I'd like to. It'd be kind of interesting to see how that unfolds.
We'll take a trip.
Awesome.
I'll put you in my car.
Perfect. We'll go old school.
Old school.
Awesome.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you, Ron. We really appreciate you, and we appreciate you being a part of our journey as well.
I support what you guys do. Got good stuff going on.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Well, there you have it, guys. Hey, you guys are looking for somebody, Ron Mullins is your guy. Remax Parkside. Give him a call. He likes to do it old school style. Call him, and we'll talk, and he'll be able to be your tour guide here on the Central Coast and beyond of where you need that property. But as always, guys, we can't do this without you and our sponsors. We'd like to thank Escalar Wines, Wine Travelers Hideaway, Visit Atascadero, 805 Customs, Santo Brother Plumbing, North County Junk Removal, Hanson Enterprises, Story Termite Pest Control, Borhone Auto Center, Kennedy Club Fitness, Airflow Filter Services, Suprema Meat Market, MGP Coatings, and of course, Ron Mullins with Parkside Remax. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Hi, this is Dave Story, small game hunter with Story Termite and Pest. We're a full-service termite and pest control company. From rodents to termites, we can take care of all your pest control needs. Call today. We can tailor a pest control program that will meet your needs and budget. Contact us at 805-460-0650 or at storytermite.com. Remember, we don't have customers, we have friends.
Hi, it's Alex with Suprema Meat Market. We are a Mexican meat market with a taqueria. Come enjoy our high quality cuts and meats. We offer choice and prime Harris Ranch beef, as well as chicken, seafood, and pork items. In the taqueria, all of our tacos come with handmade tortillas. We also offer specialty items like chilaquiles and chile rellenos. Come enjoy Taco Tuesday with Suprema. We offer our tacos at $1.99 each. Suprema Meat Market is located at 8950 Montecito Avenue in Atascadero.
Are you tired of looking at that worn-out concrete garage floor, patio, or porch? Look no further than MGP Coatings, where customer service reigns supreme. Our team goes above and beyond to ensure your satisfaction every step of the way. Before we even start coating, we meticulously repair your concrete, ensuring a flawless finish that lasts. And here's the best part. Our Pentec coatings are 4 times stronger than epoxy, so they won't chip or peel, making maintenance a breeze. Plus, they come with a limited lifetime warranty. Call us today at 805-952-5301 or check out our Facebook and Instagram and experience the MGP coating difference. Don't wait. Transform your garage, patio, porch, or driveway and become a part of the MGP coating family.
What's up, North County? This is Teresa Branch with Airflow Filter Service. We are a family-owned business right here in the North County. We have air filters, oils and lubricants, and hydraulic hoses. We provide services that include air filter cleaning, DPF cleaning, and waste oil collection. Come check us out at 1140 Ramada Drive, and we can help you with all your automotive and industrial vehicle needs.
Hi, this is Omid
and Deanna
at North County Junk Removal. We are a business known for helping our neighbors and our community.
Let us help you save money and get rid of any unwanted items.
And rest assured that our professional team adheres to global standards of safety and recycling. We are fully licensed and insured for your peace of mind.
We are locally owned and operated, and we look forward to helping you with all your junk removal needs.
Please call us at 805-769-6966.
Atascadero isn't your standard getaway. We're unique, just like you. We're growing, transforming, and figuring it out as we go. We're a town filled with innovators, artists, makers, and game changers. We're a little bit country, a little bit funky, and always authentic. We're here for your good times, your slow times, and your changing times. We're all in Atascadero. Come see for yourself. Learn more at visitatascadero.com.
What's up, North County? Nate Santos here, owner of Santos Bros Plumbing. You might recognize me with my dancing horses at local events such as the Atascadero Tamale Festival, Templeton 4th of July, and Paso Pioneer Day. I am now available for all your home plumbing service and repair needs, from minor drips and drops to emergency leaks and clogs. For the best plumbing service, call Santos Bros Plumbing, pipe wranglers to the rescue.
Hi, welcome to Kennedy Club Fitness, where we have something for everyone. We have weights, cardio, group exercise classes, racquetball, basketball, swimming, and pickleball coming soon. Here at Kennedy, we're committed to health, wellness, and community. Stop by any of our 4 locations: Paso Robles, Atascadero, San Luis Obispo, and Arroyo Grande, or check out our website at kennedyclubs.com.